Hello, Matthew. Thank you for coming on. I know it's late for you over in New Zealand. Could you give a short introduction about yourself?
Hey man, yeah, I right now I'm just spending a lot of time traveling, trying to get different places, see as much of the world as I can, and making the best out of life.
When did you begin traveling? Where have you been?
I started really this year was the big one for me. So I closed down a couple businesses I had back in Canada, and then I left in February. I did a few months over in Europe, and then now I'm down in New Zealand.
hmm And what plans do you have after?
Man, I think either Southeast Asia or back to New Zealand or back to Europe, sorry, and just check more of that stuff out.
Fair enough. And what brought you to the real world?
Well, honestly, location freedom. So I was looking for a way to convert the money I made with my business to an online revenue so that I could keep traveling around and moving around. And I didn't really know where to go. And I saw the ads about the real world and I figured there's a bunch of different options that I can learn there. So maybe it's a good place to start and hone in on an idea of what direction I want to do, what interests me in the world of generating money online.
And what did you get into when you joined? And was your expectation different from what you saw within?
I didn't really have much expectations. I just kind of knew that I needed a place to learn a skill without, scouring 50 different resources. I like how everything was just condensed and you could just go through there. So I didn't have much expectations. I started in the stocks campus and because that interested me a lot, I was like, well, why don't my money make money for me? And so I was in the stock campus, but I had a hard time verifying my address with brokers. So I kind of switched campuses and then went from there. So I did a little bit of the freelancing campus, and then I knew I wanted to travel, and then the online sales and marketing campus opened up. So I went that route to see how I could, it was learn video editing through freelancing in the sales mark camp. And yeah, because I knew I wanted to make these cheesy little videos while I traveled, but I had no idea how to edit, how to, take videos, really none of it. And so I started that back in December.
hmm Okay. And what was the process for you to acquire clients? What did you do for them?
Well, I just followed the instructions in the online sales and marketing camp. And then I just practiced, so I kind of started my own little TikTok and stuff and started building up just different podcast clips and dissecting podcasts and how to organize video clips so it was easier to edit. And then from there, I got just through that kind of work, a job opportunity opened it up. I saw an ad on YouTube for Justin Waller's team. I I applied and then I got hired on his team. And then, I'm not part of the team right now, but I was on the team for about 2 months, month and a half, which was a really cool experience. And they kind of sat down with me as well and worked through a lot of different stuff. And then from that, I picked up other clients because they saw some of the work that I was putting out.
Okay. So a bit more into that. Did you expect to get hired by Justin Wallace's team? What, did you just reach out by DM and then they hired you? Or what was the process there?
He put out a application link, and so I filled out the application. I honestly know because I've only been editing videos for since December, so I guess 6 months now. No previous experience. I just kind of thought this would be cool if it happens, but I didn't really believe it would happen. So it was kind of a shot in the dark. I just kind of threw my hat over the fence. I was like, I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. And then they reached out to me eventually. And then I made it on to the second phase of their application process. And then they got back to me and they brought me onto their team. And it was almost surreal. It was really cool to work with those guys. And I'm very thankful for the experience. Because, I mean, within six
hmm
months, I never thought that would be possible. I didn't even know that would be in the
Right.
realm of existence.
Right. So you're saying some of the shorts I've seen on Justin Wallace's channel may have been made by you? Or were you
May
doing
have been,
something
yeah,
else
the
for
Jay
him?
Waller Wins channel. No, I was editing shorts for their Jay Waller Wins channel, so their interview channel with Pablo.
Awesome. Okay. And what about other clients? How did you reach out to them? What was the process there?
Well, some of them were people that I knew that knew I was starting to get into video editing just locally. I'm from a small town, so everybody kind of knows everybody. And so some of them reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, I need a project for this. Can you throw a grad video together for my kid? He's graduating, so I don't want to do it. So can you like make a collage of music and videos and photos and stuff?" And so I did that. Some of my clients came. They were guys that were interviewed by Jay Waller team, and I guess as well as you. And they reached out to me and asked me for some edits and everything.
Okay, interesting. That's I mean, nice how everything came together. So since you started video editing, how much have you made then in that time span?
So not just video editing, but my big triumph was I made 15 grand in 3 weeks. I took the business I had. So I had 3 weeks between Europe and New Zealand, and I spent all of the money I had saved in Europe. And so, but my ticket was already bought for New Zealand. So I was like, I had 3 weeks. My goal was to make at least $7,000 between just gaining new clients for the business I had. So I've been in construction for the last 10 years. And so, but the lessons in Arno's personal finance course through the real world just really took my business to the next level. How to get more clients, different ways of outreaching. So I just reached out to as many clients as I could. I stacked my daytime with painting, with construction, and then I stacked my nights with bartending. And then in the time between, I was doing the video edits, and some of them were 19-hour days. I'd leave the house by 8, I'd get home by 3, and I just hustled, man. And all in all, and then I pulled together $15,000. I flipped some things too. What they talk about in the freelancing campus, they go through how to flip things and how to make sure you're getting good prices for what you're selling. And so that helped me out too. And no, it's just kind of like crazy how it all came together. Um, it blew what I knew was possible for myself. Like I didn't realize that I could make that much money in that amount of time. Obviously, or else I would have set the goal higher than 7,000 in 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And so when I looked at the end of the time frame and saw $15,000, I was just mind blown. And of course I was
Mhm.
sharing with my friends, not to be like, hey, look at me, but it's just like, hey, this is possible. You don't have to stay at your shitty job that you complain about all the time. You can go out, you can reach for more. And some of them now are like looking for ways. They're like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And it's really cool to see the change in their lives after they're like, dude, you kind of opened my eyes.
Interesting. Okay. So how has your average day changed now compared to before you joined the real watch?
Oh, a ton, a ton. I mean, first of all, I wake up every morning, I go to the gym, which I didn't do beforehand. And it's really cool because I put on 20 pounds of muscle mass, and I'm really happy about that, and still going up, not at my goal weight yet, but that's done. And usually most times, every couple months, I'm waking up in a new country or a new city, which is crazy. Um, yeah, I wanted my life to be location free. And instead of having the things in place to make my life location free first, I thought, let's put myself in a position where I'm going to have to make it work. So I just kind of bought the ticket. I was like, this is what's happening. And if I don't figure out how to make it work, then I'm kind of stuck somewhere. And
Mhm.
so far it's been working out, which is really cool. But you just got to stay on top of everything.
So what would you say to people who call that excessive working 19 hours, sometimes working 19-hour days and just constantly grinding?
It was this was a quote I got from Alex Ramonzi when I was cutting up podcasts, but it's the question isn't how can we be healthy? The question is how can we be great? Those people that are like, oh, you're going to burn out, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. The human mind and body is far more capable than we give it credit for. And I think we just find excuses for our own laziness and our own, just the ways we want to sit around or not work, or excuses to go party or go hang out with friends. I still did that. Like my friends were, I was there for a short time. They're like, come to the club, come to the club, come to the club. And so I'd leave a 14-hour day, go to the club with them. I didn't drink a lot. I'd go to the casino, make a couple $100 at the casino, and then, join them up when they were done drinking. And then we'd all go home and they were all happy because they didn't even really notice I was gone. So it's just kind of one of those things. I don't know. It's a mindset thing. You know, what do you believe you're capable of? Or what do you want? Do you desire more? Or are you just happy just being stuck where you are?
Right. So yeah, it's I think there's also a quote where the desire to change is greater than, what was it, the pain of staying the same?
Yeah, something like
I can't
that.
remember exactly where it
Uh,
went, but something along those lines. Yeah.
yeah, the way it was put to me, because before I heard that quote, I had a friend who's behavioral therapist, and she was like, people do the same thing for them until it doesn't work anymore. Until
Hmm.
it no longer works for them. They stay the same way, they do the same things. And eventually that was kind of it for me. I was like, hey, the way I'm living my life isn't working, isn't where I want it to be. You reach this breaking point of either I start moving or life starts moving.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's now what I do versus what happens to me.
Right. And a lot of people don't actually wake up to that for a large majority of their life. I think it's two main things usually which wake them up: either some kind of ego death or a near death experience where they realize that they've just been going through the same cycle for 20 years. Nothing's been changing. And yeah, it's just been the same thing over and over. And if they were to die now, then they wouldn't have really done anything with their lives. So I think, yeah, I know those two things usually are what wake people up. But obviously, in your case, it was probably something different because you just saw what was out there and then decided to go out and take it for yourself.
Yeah, I just always knew that. Well, especially I always knew I wanted to see the world. And unfortunately, there's cheap places to travel, but not everywhere is cheap. So, some of the places I want to see aren't cheap, and you just need to make it work. And I've always been infatuated with growth. How can I be better than I was yesterday? How can I be better tomorrow? How can I, have that discipline? I grew up in martial arts most of my life, and so that really kind of helped. And the teachers I had there are always, you're always trying to be better, hit harder, move faster, or move more fluid, I guess you should
Mhm.
say.
Right. I think for some people, they end up thinking, but at what point is it enough? As in, you're doing enough? Because with that mindset, there's always more to do. So what if some people are thinking, what point is actually enough? Or is there no point?
I,
Just constant, endless
I,
growth.
I think it doesn't matter, right? I think if you're content where you are, you're not going to change anyway. So why do you care? And if you want to keep going to the top, it's that and then some mindset, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to do all this and then some. I'm going to do 50 push-ups and then some. And then you just keep pushing yourself with that and then some, I'm going to be happy today and then some. I'm going to be kind today and then some. And you just push that every little bit. And I mean, that's kind of how I fell off the Jay Waller team. Is I was so flooded with everything going on, I couldn't keep up with the work they needed me to keep up with. So I broke the expectations that they needed of me. But if you're not trying to expand your plate, if you're not trying to stack more weight on, if you don't build up resistance, you're never going to grow. So there's points where our lives have these breakdowns that lead to breakthroughs of how we get better and we expand and we face that resistance, right?
Yeah, great insights. Thank you. So, would you say has been the biggest challenge you faced when you first started out on this path?
A big challenge I faced in the real world was um, I spent so much time learning, right? I was going through almost each campus, trying to soak up as much knowledge just because I didn't know what direction I wanted to go in at first, opposed to just, shooting the bullet and just sticking with something and making it work. So it was getting to the point where I was like putting a lot of time and work into, and I wasn't seeing any results. And I was like, ah, man, I'm not getting a lot of money back. Um, in return, is this still worth it? How long do I stick this out before I see, you know, how long do I give myself? And I was like, when the sales and marketing boot camp started up, they kind of had a 6 month program, and I was like, I'll stick it out for the 6 months, see and learn as much as I can, and see and reevaluate at the end of it. But I wanted to give it as much as I could, and
Hmm.
I was sitting there, man, it's work. I didn't realize, for every minute basically takes you an hour to edit. And to sit there and watch like 2 hours of podcast just to find the right clips and what parts that you think are good for you, and then to edit and all that stuff. And you're just trying to put out content and content and content. And it was just a lot of work. And like, I was, my parents would give me flack. They're like, "Oh, are you still doing that stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, it's not making you any money." And I was like, "Well, I'm not going to go work at Walmart. I'm just really not. That's not what my life is cut out to be." So, but you put in the work and the results are there. I couldn't be happier. I learned so much. I'm traveling so much, and I know I broke through that glass ceiling as what I thought was possible, for the amount of money I can make, for the amount of pressure I can handle, for the amount of work and stress I can deal with. It's just really cool to see yourselves elevated.
Hmm. Right, right.
Yeah.
So would you say the community within the real world or the Winch channel, did that have any impact on that mindset?
I think so. I think it took me a while because I didn't spend much time talking to the community. I didn't spend much time looking at the wins channel, because they're like, some people just like to see other people win. And I was like, I don't want to see other people win. I want to see me win. But when I started, actually asking questions and putting myself out there more, you get more feedback. And I'm a big believer in, you fly with the crows, you die with the crows. Who you surround yourself with is, who you become. And you start surrounding yourself with people who want to grow, who want to challenge themselves, who want to be better as well. And that reflects on you. Um, the community is cool, man. It's, you post a win. When I started posting my own wins, and everybody celebrating, the amount of friend requests you get, and everybody wants to talk to you. They're like, "Yo, bro, what are you doing? How did you do that?" Like, and then so it's just really cool because you see people that are hungry as well, and you're like, "Hey, we can all eat. We're all here to eat. How can we come together?" And it's like, "Hey, man, this is what I did. I just worked hard. You gotta put in the time. You gotta follow the lessons. You gotta listen." Yeah, man, it was the weirdest thing. Like, just out of nowhere, all these people just started talking to me, and I was like, "What did I even do?" Like, I just sent a photo in of saying, "Hey, this is my win," and
Hmm.
it inspires others. And so you just want to keep rolling with that then, right? It's like, well, I'm not winning for just me. I'm winning so that other people in my life can win.
Again, thank you for that insight. And what would you say have been the biggest lessons you've learned from your time within the real world?
The biggest lessons for me, I think, was just kind of getting back to that place of perseverance and discipline, and, you know, just having to be the change. I mean, there's so many skills there, and they go through so many different things. Yeah, because I don't know if there's any like specific lesson that really changed me. I think it was more the environment and just
Hmm.
the wealth of knowledge that was there and easy to access. Because like basically you can learn anything for free on the internet, but having it all in one place and access where you're not having to scour, from this link to that link to this page to that page, and it's just all condensed in one place, and you can just go through. No, I don't want to listen to that. This campus looks cool. This looks cool. So I think the environment they cultivated is just a really positive one, where everything just comes together and it's a place where everybody wants to grow. I really dug the business lessons Arno goes through in his personal finance stuff. I mean, a lot of those he dissects and he goes through and he's like, if you're not doing these things, start looking at it this way. Little perspective shifts And, a big one is how can I provide value first? Provide a little bit of value first to catch somebody's attention. And then you'll be like, hey, if you want more of this, I can continue to provide this service and it would only cost you this much. That one was really cool because then it's just all about adding value to people's lives, even through the marketing boot camp, right? If you want your page to grow, you have to add a little bit of value. Why are people coming to your content? Why are people clicking on your links? And it's like, well, you provided a little bit of value for them. They saw value in what you were doing. It wasn't just an aimless, you know, amalgamation of things. It had a direction and they got the point.
Right. Yeah. So I'm happy with the answer. So we can go on to. So, what kind of an impact would you say Tate has had on you?
I think the impact that he had is a lot of his principles, him coming up as a professional fighter in the martial arts world and me coming up through the martial arts world of discipline. I related with a lot of what he said already, just from that mindset of perseverance and discipline and that kind of thing. It's a well taught thing it's supposed to be a well taught thing in the martial arts world of pushing yourself and trying hard. So it's just really cool to have those points just keep hammering home and being reminded of. It's just like, hey, oh yeah, don't forget about this. Don't start slacking. If you want what you want, you got to go out and get it. You got to build yourself up to be the person to get the things that you want. You're not just gonna have a cool car if you're sitting around doing nothing. It's one thing to have a dream of your life, and then it's another thing to build the life that you dream of. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was a big thing that he kept hammering home for me.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. Since you're on this trajectory, where do you see your life heading in the short term, medium term, long term?
Short term, right now I'm looking at a couple different content creation avenues to keep me traveling. So I'm trying to put together some free value, some promo videos for some people and be like, hey, this is what I can do. Um, I've noticed that you guys haven't posted content in a couple years or a couple months, or your content's kind of dry. This is the value I can add to your company, and just something to keep me traveling. I want to travel for the next 3 to 5 years and just see as much as the world as I can. And then after that, probably start investing in real estate and looking at some of that stuff. I have some friends that are interested in going to properties and looking at international real estate, so I can just keep moving around and just kind of build a little empire with a circle of people, like-minded people.
So, no tangible figures for now. Yeah, just going off of that plan, right?
My goal when I left, so my goal was to travel for 3 to 5 years and in that time make $1 million. Because I figured, if I get close, that's still pretty cool. So I didn't really have much of a plan, but that's my goal, and I'm trying to like put together the pieces as I'm running, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. I just kind
Yeah.
of threw my hat over the fence. I bought the tickets and I was like, hey, let's make this my life now and let's be successful at it.
Good. So I will hold you accountable and we'll do a follow up in about 3 months or so. So make sure you're putting in the work in that time and document any kind of things that happen that you'd want to talk about in those 3 months. So we have some stories to tell us. And yeah, I look forward to that. So to end off, for people who are still unsure about joining the real world, maybe they think it could be a scam for $50. What advice would you have to them?
Man, I'd say just do it. It's not much to lose. I've spent more than $50 on one drink I've had at a club or a bar. You know what I mean? Like on not even like a bottle, like a drink. I've spent more money on a drink. And the wealth of knowledge that's there is just cool. And even if you just give it a 1 month go, give it a month. If you're looking at finding a hustle, if you're looking at finding some people to get along with that are like minded, if you're looking at growing your business or just growing yourself, they have fitness in there. They have a fitness campus, and it's $50. I mean, for the amount of access you have for that money, there's so much knowledge to be gained, and if you don't like it, it's super easy to quit. The amount of times I've had credit cards fail and they're like, "Oh, you're kicked out," and I'm like they don't keep you in the loop. It's super easy to cancel your subscription if you don't want to stay in. But I mean, I've stayed in, and so have I think over 200,000 other people.
Mhm.
So
Right.
they're obviously getting something out of it.
All right. And yeah, hundreds of success stories as well, like yours, being documented. So for people who want to find out more about you or contact you, what can they do so?
Yeah, they can just, reach out to me on Instagram, give me a follow. It's just Matthew Lazinski, first name, last name. Super simple.
Okay, we'll add that to the description of the video. And Matthew, thank you very much for your time. As I said before, I look forward to doing that follow up in 3 months. And until then, I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.